So I got a question the other day that was asking me about my personal philosophy on cash reserves and how I think about it and what I think organizations should be doing with their money as they come into profits. And so here's a quick rundown of how I think about it, and I think this applies to both for-profits and nonprofits alike. It's a strategy that I've implemented with my business and other businesses, and it's made everybody very successful and very straightforward. So the first thing I think about is creating like a waterfall approach. So understanding that we have to have a minimum of typically 60 to 90 days worth of cash. I'm always shooting for a minimum of 60, maximum of 90 days, because I think about when I have that amount of money, I'm not making decisions based on when the payroll is going to hit or when a vendor needs to be paid. I can really flush through and pay bills and hit payroll without even blinking an eye. Once you get below 60 days, you're starting just to think about that. Below 30 days, you're really starting to watch that cash balance on a regular basis. But once you're in the 60 to 90 days, okay, you're in a really good sweet spot there. Now, once you get above 90 days, this is the way I think about planning for what to do with that money. The first thing I think about is starting to think about reserve buckets. I'm a big proponent of having reserves for various different purposes. And for every organization, the first thing that I'm going to think about is having an annual expense reserve. So that's thinking through, okay, what is the 13th payroll of every 6 months that's going to hit? Do I have enough cash for that? I'm thinking about the annual contracts that I have to pay for. Maybe that's software subscriptions, maybe that's insurance, maybe that is something else that's a big expense that I need to put away a different amount every single month to have that money readily available when that expense needs to be hit. And then I don't have to worry about where's the cash going to be coming from. So I'm planning that every single month. Additionally, after you've determined what that annual expense amount is, you stock that away. Now I'm thinking about capital expenditures that are going to hit farther down the road. So I'm thinking about the roof that needs to be replaced, the parking lot that needs to be resurfaced, repairs that need to be made for the organization, and really trying to plan out what is a dollar amount that I can put into a savings account every single month that's going to help to pay for that expense in 1 to 3 years. Additionally, I'm thinking about a separate bucket for IT refresh. I think of this differently from the CapEx perspective, just because I want it specifically designated. Particularly with our hospice organizations, really there's a very high need for new iPads or laptops, things like that. I'm always going to be planning on refreshing those iPads, computers every 3 to 5 years. 4 is the sweet spot for me. And so if I could automatically refresh everybody's computer every 4 years, I'm going to be in a really good place. I'm not going to have to worry about, oh, Susie brought in a broken laptop or our iPad and I don't have a backup replacement, or everybody's going to be getting to a point where they need a total refresh and the whole organization is going to cost $30,000 to $50,000 to refresh everybody's computer. I don't ever want to be in that boat. So just make the refresh every 4 years for everybody automatically, and having that money in a savings account is going to allow you to do that. So after that, beyond those annual CapEx IT funds, I'm then thinking about profit sharing, right? And so if you are a nonprofit organization or a for-profit organization, this philosophy should apply to you, right? So take 50% of the profits that are after those allocations, 50% goes to the staff, allocated however you determine best, but then 50% does stay with the organization, right? And so everybody's winning when the organization is winning. I'm a firm believer that you should be pushing money back to the team if you can. Beyond that, then you've got money, your 50% from the profits, that should be strategically invested into something that is going to be long-term in nature, whether it's simple as a long-term or short-term or long-term CD, or having an investment portfolio that you can be putting money in to grow at a higher pace than that bank account is going to allow for. So that's my framework for thinking about profits, starting with that 60 to 90 days, then going into the annualized expenses, and then getting into profit sharing. And I think what is going to be beneficial for all organizations, whether you're for-profit or nonprofit, is having a document that outlines what is our strategic policy for handling cash. Um, Obviously, most organizations do not have this, but if you're into a position where you do have excess of 90 days worth of cash, how are we going to handle this? And if you're a nonprofit organization, having that discussion is a great discussion for the finance committee, right? Let's think about how we're going to be strategic with this, and work together as a team. So hope that answers your question, and have a great day.